Welcome to another episode of Spotlight. On today's programme, we've got Neil Cunningham, the co-founder and CEO of Elite Journey. He's going to be talking to us about the hardships of being a frontline doctor during COVID, whilst also having to pivot his business to an online format for servicing overseas students with soft skills. We'll start with just a little bit of background into Elite Journey. Just give us a bit of an intro who you are and what the business does.
Yeah, so I'm Neil Cunningham and I am the co-founder of Elite Journey. And Elite Journey is an international education company based between Cambridge here in the UK and Guangzhou in China. And really what we try to do is to provide that sort of supercurricular, extracurricular skills learning for students from across the world to help them be prepared for working in the 21st century and to help them become accountable global citizens. So it's really about giving them educational experience for those soft skills that people need in order to be successful in the world today.
So it's interesting, you've picked out on the soft skills of definitely a massive part of that interview process is around not what you can do, it's around like the soft skill element of you being human, and that's kind of what we're looking for in team members, because you have to spend as much time at work, if not more, than at home or with your family. So it's super important. So it's really interesting that you've got like a soft skills approach to the learning that you deliver.
Well, soft skills obviously really important, like you said, and everything that we try to teach our students, we've got this student profile of exactly what we want to get out of our students, and that's exactly what I look for whenever I'm trying to employ people and recruit people into our team. But as well as that, what's interesting about, starting a company working in Asia and China, they have historically and traditionally always been about teaching for exams. So schools are like factories where students sit down, they revise, they work in school from 9 in the morning to 10 at night, and there's no real focus on that. And what employers were saying is that just students who graduate aren't ready for work, and they're looking for some of that Western educational concepts, these progressive educational concepts, to translate into Asia. So that's what we really started focusing on. And helping prepare students in Asia to be ready for working in an increasing globalized world, and where loads of people from different cultures are constantly mixing. What's really important for students who are studying nowadays is that they know theory, but you've got to be able to apply that in a way which people will listen to you, and in a way which you're going to do good with that knowledge. There's no point in knowing all of this stuff if you don't know how to enact it or use that in real life. So communication skills is really important. So we do lots of teaching with our students for debates and public speaking. And the great thing about debate and public speaking is that you can teach students not just their communication skills, but you can teach them how to think, rationally on the spot and to interact with people. Because it might be all well and good knowing everything about, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and understanding the science behind global warming and stuff. But if you can't then go out into the world and, enact on that knowledge and use that knowledge in order to convince people to listen to what you're saying and to do good with it, then what's the point in knowing it? It's all about, actions as well as just the knowledge.
So the business concept was developed whilst you were at uni?
Yeah, so the way Elite Journey started was I was studying for medicine at Cambridge, and Cambridge is a little bit different to other universities. You've got really long periods of summer. So you've got 8-week terms, 3 8-week terms, and the rest of it you're off to do study. But what I decided to do was I went on a teaching program to China during one of my summer holidays. It's a volunteering trip, and we were teaching English in a secondary school. And I really loved my time out there in China, but what I didn't quite love was the teaching program that we were doing. And that's because it felt like the business is set up really just to sell white people to Asian parents. So I didn't think there's that much ethics behind it. I didn't feel like we were giving that good of an education. But whenever I was there, I met Austin, who's the other co-founder of Elite Journey, who's based in China. And he was sort of running one of the international departments of the secondary school that we were working in. So we got talking to him. I was explaining to him but my passions for soft skill learning, how it's really important, how I've seen it's helped me at university, and I think these kids could really benefit for it. So we got really talking and started incubating, lots of ideas for different programs that we could do. And then the next year, whilst still studying, we decided to launch our first program. So we launched our first program in summer of 2016. That was one residential summer camp for about 100 students in China. And then it was a success, it went great. We then brought lots of students from China over to the UK on an exchange program. We placed them into schools in the UK, because another big part of what we do is cultural exchange. So that was really important. Then the next year we did 2 camps. The following year we did 3. The next year we did 9. And then we just kept growing exponentially from there.
So it's like, so you're really in an unusual position. You're actually a doctor and you've got a business.
Yeah.
Which is fucking madness, really, when you think about it, which is a complete craziness. So like, how do you split it? How do you split your time between saving lives and like giving fulfiller life enrichment? For what I mean, it's a pretty big thing to have on your shoulders.
Well, I like to think of it they're weirdly quite similar, medicine and education. But I'll talk firstly about splitting my time. At university, it was fairly easy to do because we had such long periods off. I had to spend each of my summers at university in China or running these programs. So that wasn't so difficult. But then moving to working full-time as a doctor, but not only that, being a doctor for the first time and starting my working life in the NHS in the midst of a pandemic it was a difficulty to struggle to balance my time with those two things. But how I've done it is really by creating just the most amazing team around me to help me do that. So really, I like to think I'm very hands-on, but the way I can be hands-on at the right times is by having such an exceptional team around me. And we talked about recruitment earlier, and it's just about recruiting those people with the same passion and drive and energy that we do, that have the morals and that moral responsibility to really want to change lives of these students. So I really feel like my mission is to save lives in the NHS, but to change lives through early journey.
And do you have quite a linear career goal with regards to the NHS? Have you got somewhere where you want to end up?
Not really. I think my attitude is, and I know this probably goes against what most people say, I don't really have my life goal, my life ambition. What I really do and what I try to do every day is just to work my hardest, find opportunities to excel, and to try to create a creative environment and space around me and my employees to try to just do the best that we can do every day. And if you do that, then I think opportunities will open. And then, because I think it could be quite restrictive to set, just have your eyes on one particular fixed goal, because then, so many things will pass you by. So there's a medical career and there's education. There's lots of ways that can be combined, and medical education is one of them. So I'm going back to university next year to Cambridge to study medical education. But as well as that, I'm so passionate about the NHS and how much more efficient and effective it could be. And I think I think for me personally, I can see lots of things that we do in the business world, in the private sector, that could be translated into public sector stuff. So I've just done a research project in the hospital, for example, looking at efficiency savings for oxygen supplies. So we all know that across the world, countries have been running out of oxygen due to the pandemic. So and then the company Elite Journey, we're doing lots of efficiency savings last year. So I thought, what can I do in the hospital that can see this? I can see there's a problem, but nobody is really trying to tackle it. And I just did one study of one ward in the hospital, and I found that we could save millions of litres of oxygen per year just in that one ward. So I think the ultimate career goal is to try to combine all of my lessons and learnings from Elite Journey with all of my knowledge of the NHS, and I don't know, maybe go forward and do something in medical education in the NHS or something in leadership.
So we're going to move on to talk about challenges and setbacks. So we all have them. Obviously in the last 18 months, I can't imagine how much of a challenge it would have been for you with your dual career. And has that been the biggest challenge and setback of your life?
Well, definitely. The elephant in the room is definitely COVID, which has been a massive setback for us. But well, it was on paper, it looked like a setback at the start. But actually, what we've managed to do is really turn it into something positive. I think, to steal some leadership theory, I did a PG cert in leadership management this year, so I've got some theory on it. I learned about there's a theory called VUCA, and we all live in a VUCA world where there's volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, and complexity, and that's the world that we live in. And whenever COVID came along, that was just a perfect VUCA environment that we're living in. All of that volatility, complexity, uncertainty, and I think the setback for me leading Elite Journey was trying to overcome that uncertainty and ambiguity within all of our employees, because all of our employees from the UK were based out in China. COVID hit China earlier than it did the UK. So at the time we weren't really sure what was happening, but China was advising everyone to lock down. We're like, oh my God, this is madness. So we repatriated everybody back from China over to the UK. And all of our employees were like, what is going on? What are we going to do? All of our business in China at that point had been cancelled or postponed. They're like, is the company going to get through this? Like, we had some new starters that had just joined the company that week. They had just gone out to China, and then suddenly we were bringing them back to the UK again. It's like, did I leave my last job for the right reasons? Like, what am I doing? So for that was a really big VUCA problem for us. But the way that I sort of tried to overcome that was to try to combat that volatility by setting a vision and communicating that vision to everybody. What are we going to do? And in terms of the uncertainty, it was all about trying to create understanding with everyone by unraveling what their worries were, what their fears were, what their anxieties were, and trying to appease those and explain what we're doing. And in terms of the complexity, we wanted to use clarity to overcome that and try and make everything more clear with them, so that they knew where we were headed, what we're doing. And in terms of the ambiguity, what we really wanted to do and what we focused a lot of our energy on was to try to create that environment where the team could be as adaptable as possible and agile as possible. So because we had to change our business model completely, we had to set up offices in the UK. We switched everything from face-to-face to online learning. We used the crisis of COVID in order to use that as an opportunity to launch our international programs in the UK, because we were initially mostly working just in Asia. But now we're working a lot more in the Western world. We've got our new programs which launched in the UK this year, and we also launched lots of new university application mentoring schemes as well. So all which says we've only been allowed to do that due to the fact that our team have been repatriated from China over to the UK, and we've tried to make the most of it.
Do you think you would have done it without that though?
Not at the same speed or acceleration as we have done. And I think if COVID didn't happen, we probably would have focused more of our energy on the Asian market, because that's where the whole team was. We knew that we were being successful there. So I think it would have took us a lot longer to get there. So I think COVID in a way has been good for that aspect, and helping our team realize how adaptable and flexible that we can be as a company. As a company, we've really tried to be there for all of our employees and our students throughout. So I think all of the employees really value that in us, and value what we've done for them over the past year, and they can see how we've been so flexible and accommodating and agile, and I think that will stick.
Just sort of by money making hat on, it's essentially giving you an online revenue, which when your offline stuff comes back online, whether that is about to come back online or it will be imminent.
Yeah.
So it's allowed you to like a free pass for 18 months to try, not a free pass, but you've had a period where you can actually develop another revenue stream, and then the other revenue stream, which being your online stuff or your offline stuff. When one comes back on, actually the business will be in a much better position than it would have been otherwise. Because obviously I know you said thinking about focusing in China. Well, that just went on pause, really, didn't it? And you're like, let's focus on this. So essentially now you've got two different business revenue streams, one that's about to come back online, and then actually this other one, which actually mitigates your risk if you think about it.
Exactly. So over the past 18 months, obviously all of our revenue beforehand was through face-to-face. We didn't do any online at all. So this past 18 months has been trying to mitigate the loss in revenue that we couldn't get from hosting all of our face-to-face stuff. But yeah, you're exactly right. What we've done over the past 18 months is build this extra revenue stream that we can now use in parallel to the one which we previously had. And we've seen that just this week in China. We've launched our host of residential summer camps and programs in China. So we've got 600 students taking part this summer in our programs in China. But alongside that, we have our online learning that's happening as well. But the online learning has really helped us to really meet our business objectives as well, because we want to create accountable global citizens. So by doing online and through all of the technology that we've got so used to using over the past year, we can now host lessons with students from every corner of the world. And we've done that during the autumn last year. We're doing it now where we have students from China in a class with students from the UK learning together. And that's just amazing. That would not have happened pre-COVID. At the start of the pandemic, obviously crisis mode is there, and you need to bring people from that zone of chaos to a zone of certainty and agreement. And you have to make fast decisions, and that's whenever you need to create that environment for the team to be really adaptive and agile. And that's whenever you often get the best out of your team. So that was really good. But then after that chaos, it sort of calmed down a bit. And then I think COVID, it's forced that pause that everyone needs, I think, to do the reflection, which you hadn't been doing because you're too wound up in everything else, and to introspect, to retrospectively look at what you've been doing, where you're going to go. So I think it's been a really good natural reflection point in order to really get things aligned and to work out where you're going to go next.
I've found that over the period of COVID as well, I've found much better sources of inspiration.
Yeah.
I've had the time to allocate to finding my inspiration, as opposed to it finding you, which is the whole point of social media. But I've had more time to look at stuff on social media and look at where that sort of points of inspiration are coming from, and that's really helped me in my own personal development. Actually, one of the things I really was looking at when I was looking at Barack Obama quote when it first hit, was when you're at 51%, you've made your decision.
Yeah.
And it's that's so true. When you're at 51%, you have made your decision. So the start point, I was just are you 51%? Yeah, decision made. Are you 51%? Decision made? Because it felt like they had to make so many decisions, and that's helped massively.
And that being at that 51%, like you said, allows you to take those risks that maybe you would have been 80% sure last time. You're it's a bit too risky. And COVID, fingers crossed, is a once in a lifetime experience.
Please.
You
work for the NHS, so you should know better than us.
I'm not so sure it will be. I think there's going to be more to come. But I think it's, like you said about personal development and professional development, it's provided a really unique opportunity from people at all levels, of all companies, from all walks of life, to really have that experience of managing change, dealing with adversity, and developing a resilience, which I don't think people have really needed before in this scale in order to get through something like COVID. So I think I've seen a lot of our employees have developed so much over the past year, being able to manage that change, develop professionally and personally, just dealing with everything in terms of their own mental well-being as well. COVID has really, I think for me, highlighted the difference between leading and managing.
Yeah.
I think before that, it was very easy just to manage things, get stuff done. But in a crisis, what you really need is a leader to take someone from on the graph of chaos to agreement and certainty amongst everyone. You really need a leader to set the vision and to provide that vision and articulate it through constant two-way communication, and to inspire people in order to bring them back to that zone of agreement and certainty. And that's what a leader does.
So with your sort of drive and determination, so where does it come from for you? How are you packaging that up, or where can you tell somebody else to go and find it, or can you find it? Are you born with it?
I think lots of my drive and determination came from the environment which I was growing up in. So I grew up in a dairy farm in the middle of Northern Ireland, and my parents were farmers and hadn't gone to university or anything like that. And the one thing that I always remember my parents used to say to me, which I don't know if it's the right parenting strategy or not, but they said, you study hard at school, because if you don't study, you'll not get a job and you'll be homeless. So that was the catchphrase. My parents were study hard, otherwise you'll not get a job and you'll be homeless. I said, okay, I've got to study hard if I want to live somewhere when I'm older. So I think lots of my early drive and determination from school came from that. And I realised that we grew up in a not very well off background, and I wanted to do better for myself whenever I grew up. So I think lots of my early drive and determination came from there. And then I think as I've grown older, gone through university, I think most of it comes from, I think most of my drive and determination comes from me not wanting to be bored.
Fair enough, yeah.
So I really just like, I need to be doing something constantly because, I don't know, I think I have this like ultimate fear of if I'm doing nothing, then I'll just get lost in my thoughts, and that's a dangerous route to go down sometimes. So I think lots of it comes from that and trying to build on my other success and just really wanting to better myself and to just keep improving myself. So I think that's where the inherent stuff comes from. Where can you find that though? I'm not so sure. I don't know if it's.
I don't know. I think you're quite complex from listening to you. I think that like you've got like the fear of being bored, which is through like a lack of stimulation. So then you like challenge your brain to stimulate yourself with ideas, and then you seem to be someone that's like, if I don't take action on these ideas, when that was just all a complete waste of time as well.
Yeah. I try to find a purpose in everything. It's weird, and it means that sometimes I work ridiculously long hours, and I end up, working for ages and things, and taking on way more than I probably should sometimes. So I think it's really important to try to build in that structure to your life to mean that that you don't get carried away with yourself. But I think at any one time I definitely have about 10 different projects going on. But that's what keeps me interested and excited about things and stimulated, and it means that I ultimately don't get bored, because if I start getting bored of one project, then I've got something else I can be working on, and I can move to the next one, and I keep going around. But I think for me, what makes me successful at doing that is that I don't leave these projects left open-ended. I really want to finish them off and to make something good from them.
That's a skill, because I would imagine, I think a lot of a bear trap that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into, a lot of like the work that I do with like younger people that are trying to like be entrepreneurs, and say not everyone can work on multiple things all of the time. That's a skill. Like you can either do that or you can't. And there's this notion of being an entrepreneur that's like working on loads of stuff all at one go. But you can centralise that into one project or a number of projects. So I think that's like a skill to be able. But knowing that it needs to be closed, that's where most people go wrong. They don't actually close it. It's always an open-ended thing that's never finished.
Yeah, you need to close that loop, and that's how you can be successful, I think.
So, like, what would be your tips for people thinking about starting a business?
I think it's really difficult because there's always a lot of luck involved, and I can't give tips on luck.
No.
I know I'm Irish, but I can't give away luck or give you tips on how to find it unless you go to the end of a rainbow or something. But I think it's about trying to find opportunity and to create opportunity for yourself, because you've got to be active. You can't just sit back and just hope for the best. You've got to really be active. There's a lot of hard work involved in being an entrepreneur. It all sounds glamorous and these things will come, but it's not. It's lots of hard work. It's lots of long hours and worrying and things as well. So I think, you've really got to find the opportunity and then work hard. You've got to work hard in order to make that opportunity into something. But I also think just put yourself out there. I think to all of my employees, what I would say to them is to set yourself outside of your comfort zone and to get involved in things that you're not really used to, and talk to people. You can constantly learn from other people. Whether you might have a first distinction from the top university in the world and think you know everything. You don't. People will always know more than you about some aspect of life. And so I think just by talking to people, you can connect, you can network, but also it's about learning life lessons from other people and to learn about them and how they've done things.
I totally agree with the luck piece. Like, you can't give anybody advice on luck. It doesn't. It just. You could say you make your own luck. And I'm a big believer that you do make your own luck, but there is an element of luck to it. But I think the one thing that most entrepreneurs now, young entrepreneurs, struggle with is graft.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to be prepared to outwork everybody. So if you could go back to your teenage self what advice would you give yourself? What would you tell? Is there anything you would tell yourself to do differently? Is there anything you're worried about then that you shouldn't have been worried about?
I was a massive worrier as a kid. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give to my teenage self would be, don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about you. Just do what makes you happy. And I think if you do that, then you're on the right track.
I totally agree. The moment you can stop worrying about what others think about you, the easier your life becomes.
Yeah, and whenever you're thinking about what others think about you, then you've got this inner voice, this inner critic, and that then becomes other people, it becomes yourself, and you're just talking, just abuse to yourself. Whenever you really start worrying about it, oh, people hate me, or they're going to think this is weird, why am I doing that? And I think it's really important to try to, we've all got these inner critics, but have a compassionate inner critic who's going to help empower you and help enthuse you to go on and to be passionate about whatever you're doing.
And what's next then? What's next for you?
Next for me, there's a few things. So in Elite Journey, we are rapidly expanding our international functions. So we have launched our first program specifically based at students in the UK this year. We've launched an international university application mentoring scheme. And we're also launching, fingers crossed, with the end of the COVID pandemic, lots of our international travel programs as well. So we've got camps hopefully in Bali, Singapore, Japan, all coming back up again, which were in plans pre-COVID, but now we want to get back on those again.
Probably going to get a boom on those as well, aren't you? I would have
Yeah.
thought that they could see a proper surge of people who just wanted to go do something.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Kids have been locked up for so long, and all of our programs, like I said, are about soft skills, but really looking at their mental health and well-being. And in the world right now, I think it's at any one time between 10 and 20% of students are struggling with their mental health. So if you have a class of 20 people, that's going to be 4 or 5 students are struggling with their mental health. So it's a big problem, and the pandemic has only made that so much worse. So in our programs, it's a bit of escapism, learning soft skills, focusing on mindfulness and well-being, and having fun. One of my mantras, of the many, is work hard, play hard. And we really want our students in our camps really to work really hard and to get that energy and passion, but also play hard and have fun. So fingers crossed.
Mine's work hard, play hard, dream hard, and dreams come true.
I'm going to have to add to mine.
That concludes another episode of Spotlight with Neil Cunningham. I think after this programme, it is safe to say that anything is achievable in life. Transforming a business and digitalising it whilst being a frontline ITU doctor is quite an incredible story.